Welcome back, Anas.
You need to unmute yourself.
All right. Do you hear me now?
There. Yeah,
Yeah,
good
yeah,
morning.
loud and clear.
Yeah, you're like that commercial, Verizon, I think. Can you hear me now?
I hear you.
We got you, buddy. You want to share your screen, green box?
Well, not
Or
now.
no?
Probably when
Not
we
today?
get to the discussion. No, there will be a couple of slides, but probably during the discussion. Let me do it now because
Yeah, you may as
I
well
just
do it
have-
now.
And let's do this. All right. Share screen. And do you see it now?
Yeah, got it. The
The
Economist
covers.
magazine's
Yes. Yes.
drowning in oil, the end of
Yes.
oil, everything about oil. All right, can I start off with just getting your assessment of what you think?
Let me guess, all of them contrarian indicator
Yeah,
front
are they?
pages.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, as always, when the media catches on something, it's already too late.
Absolutely. The first thing is, when looking at the oil market, we still have a major surplus. If you look at U.S. inventories, for example, we still
Yes.
have about 80 to 100 million barrels that need to be removed from the storage to get a balanced market. If you look at worldwide, what's going on, we still have a surplus. If you look at OPEC, spare capacity is very high. So there is a lot of pressure preventing oil prices from going up. The recent increase in prices, especially in the last 2 days, is mostly attributed to some geopolitical events.
That's what I was going to ask you
Yes.
at the opening.
So
Okay, go ahead.
here is the issue. It has been predicted months ago that if Biden wins, he is going to be tested. And he is going to be tested by friends and allies, and enemies alike. So everyone is going to try to test him, whether Europeans, the Israelis, the Saudis, the Iranians, the Iraqis, the ISIS, terrorists, etc. Everyone is going to try to test Biden, and we are already seeing this in the market today. If you look at what's going on in Iraq and all the attacks on the oil facilities, etc., the attacks on Americans in Iraq, you look at the Saudi Emirati actions, for example, what happened at OPEC meeting, the Iranians, the Venezuelans, supposedly the increase in exports. I think that increase in exports is just ghost ships appearing. That's just part of the test to Biden. So
Okay.
the idea here is we have the surplus in the market. At the same time, we have those tests
Right.
that are supporting prices, and that's what we see in the market today.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you, no one knows, unless you're Nostradamus, but I'm curious with, you having covered this space for decades. What do you think is going to be the tests that the Iranians give Biden after the assassination of the nuclear physicist and around the 1-year anniversary of the assassination of one of their military leaders? I forgot the name of the general. Yeah, but this recent assassination, I mean, they actually put in museums all the cars that have been blown up of nuclear physicists. It's the most dangerous job in the world to work on nuclear fission for Iran, isn't it?
Yes. So it's not only Iran, by the way. There are even students throughout the Middle East who were studying this in the US and Europe and being killed. I don't want to delve into the politics of these things, but there is one fact that the media missed was this guy is completely irrelevant to the Iranian nuclear program.
That's interesting. The media has represented that now this is going to, be such a setback for Iran on their program.
No, because whatever his expertise is, basically was needed at the beginning of the program. Once they passed that stage, his expertise was no longer needed in this case. So he is not crucial to the Iranian program in this case. But since we are talking about politics, I just want to mention one statement, and I try to avoid talking about politics in public. If you look at the other Gulf countries, if you look at Saudi Arabia, Emirates, Kuwait, etc., what they hate the most are those small attacks, because those small attacks basically are going to lead to retaliation by the Iranians against them, and they have nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
What they want basically is a complete solution to the crisis. They don't want just attack here or here or here. So they are not going to support assassination. They are not going to support small attacks on nuclear facilities, because they are first in line to be hit for nothing.
Right.
And that will continue. So they are against all of these attacks. What they wanted basically is they want a complete solution to the issue.
Is a big hot war a solution they have on the table?
There is a lot of hype going on with kind of all articles basically pointing out there is something cooking. My view is when there is something cooking in one area, we should look to the other side. We've seen it before.
Yeah, in fact, I want to acknowledge it during this interview, Anas, that a year ago, when everyone was worried about big retaliation from Iran, you said there would not be a war. They launched some missiles at an American base in Iraq, but it certainly did not escalate. And you brought calm to your listeners and people that read your stuff, because it's always good to know from someone like yourself that we don't have to prepare for something like that. And you said it would not escalate into war at that time. So, I respect your
and that
work.
lead us to another issue. Again, we are talking about politics, and I don't want to talk about politics.
I know you don't.
That all this hype about a resolution to the Qatari, Saudi, Emirati, Bahraini conflict. There was a lot of hype in the last couple of weeks on this, and really we did not see any results to that yet. Kushner went there to discuss issues related to Qatar Airlines and the airspace. We have no resolution yet on this, but it seems while the media focus on the amount of money that Qatar pays Iran, it's peanuts to the Saudis.
Right.
The Saudis are not going to yield just because of $100 million or less. This is peanuts. This is nothing. What the issue here is, there is a fear that some rogue elements within the Iranian regime is going to attack an airliner with a lot of Americans on it, and then the U.S. president has to respond.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Why don't we switch gears from politics to economics?
Sure.
So the dollar has been under a lot of pressure. It's lost 10, 12, 14%, depending upon the currency that you compare it against. And, the petro currency has been a big advantage for the U.S. Is that going to be challenged in the Biden administration? Because the Trump administration had very close ties with Saudi Arabia, and Biden most likely will be different in many ways. Could there be in the years ahead the death of the petrocurrency because the Saudis would rather have euros or yuan?
No, for several reasons. First, the Saudis have worked with every administration for the last 70 years, regardless of which party was in the White House. So, and in fact, one of the darlings, one of the best speakers that the Gulf nations get is Bill Clinton. They always get him there to speak. So the idea that they are going to have serious problem with Biden may not be correct. And let me make this statement that deep state to deep state, both of them are fine.
Okay.
We have personalities, but deep state to deep state, they are working fine. But let's go back to the petrodollars. Let me explain to the listeners a couple of points here. The short, I know some people may not agree with me on this, but there is no theory to support the short-run negative correlation between the dollar and oil prices. This is kind of a made-up correlation that traders started acting on it, and once they started acting on it, it happened. And those young traders who are
self-fulfilling
coming,
prophecy type of thing.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And those young traders who are coming online now, they believe in it and they go and and so we have kind of a rotation. Once they get older and they realize it's not really happening, they leave it, and then other young traders come and they do it again. The reason why, because if you go before 2008, we did not have that much talk about. I mean, both you and I have gray hair, so we remember this. We did not talk about it much before 2008. All of this happened after the financial crisis of 2008, 2009. And the reason why, because when everything collapsed at that time and the real estate collapsed, only commodities left to invest in. And that's where this was created. And after it ended, people thought that was the conventional wisdom. No, it's not the conventional wisdom, and there is no theory to explain it. So in the short run, basically, there is nothing but certain circumstances might lead to it sometimes, and people believed it. But in the long run, the theory is very clear. Higher dollar reduces demand and increases supply. Lower dollar increases demand and decreases supply. And therefore, we have this negative correlation in the medium and long term, and it's supported by theory. And the reason why, I know we don't have enough time to talk about all the details, but think about it this way. If oil prices, if the dollar goes up, but oil prices remains at $45, then for the Chinese and Europeans and others, oil is more expensive by exactly the same appreciation between their currency and the dollar. So if the dollar goes up by 10%, oil prices in those countries will go up by 10%, although the international price is the same.
Wow.
And if the margin is large enough, that affects the quantity demanded, and we see a decline in demand, and therefore we have a reversal or inverse relationship here.
Okay. All right. Well, here we are wrapping up a year. What a year, huh, Anas? And looking into 2021, I'm sure that you probably have your radar on for what you think may be significant developments in the oil market next year. You want to talk about a couple that you're paying attention to for 2021?
Yes. Generally speaking, it is very clear we have to divide the year into two halves, the first half and second half, because the circumstances are different. And the fact that we are starting vaccination right now, the impact of vaccination on the larger population is going to appear in the second half. OPEC behavior and OPEC plus behavior is going to change. Demand basically is going to pick up usually in the summer anyway, but now we have kind of recovery, so we might end up with kind of a sharp increase in demand in the second half. So generally speaking, we are talking about improvement in market balances in the second half. Here is the problem. The problem is we need to wait until the end of the month, at the end of January, basically, to find out what is the status of the agreement of OPEC Plus and who increased production and who is increasing it substantially. But here, I would like to remind the readers that we had a serious problem, especially with the media, not only with the media, even in specialized newsletters in energy that's been sent to clients about the rift among OPEC members, and especially between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates. You guys and everyone else heard so many stories before the meeting and during the meeting about a rift, and this meeting is going to be difficult, and things are basically going to collapse. The surprise was they reached an agreement, and it was fine. And all those predictions about the collapse of the agreement, et cetera, and all the rift. Where is the rift? Where is it? But what people do not know, and this could be shocking to some, I already wrote this on Twitter, that someone hired a reputable public relation firm that is based in London to promote the story of a rift between Saudi Arabia and Emirates.
Okay. For what purpose?
I never seen something like this in my life. This is kind of very strange. And if we are going to go with that, then, well, it's, I think, legitimate to ask whether the whole meeting was a setup.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was a setup, and the delay was a setup. At the end, the Russians chaired the meeting. At the end, it was the Russian proposal that's been adopted. And the question is why? And why would someone hire a public relation firm to promote the rift between the two countries? So the issue here is we have an agreement that they increase production by 500,000. Anyone who underestimates the ability of those guys to be flexible, they don't know anything about the market. Those guys proven time after time after time that they are extremely flexible. And here I would like to make a point, an important point, which is, imagine if the Saudis did not cut production in April, and it was free market since March 6th, and free market for all. What would have happened? We would have
another collapse in oil prices.
Not only another collapse, we have a total collapse of the US oil industry. A total collapse, which is going to lead to a major crisis because it's going to lead to lower oil production and lower natural gas production. We are coming into a winter where natural gas is very essential. We would have the 1973, 1974 winter all over again, people talking about the freezing of America. So the point I'm making here is, yes, the oil market need to be managed at least at the extremes, and we do need Saudi Arabia, we do need OPEC Plus. Those who are fighting against it, they don't know what they are wishing for.
And energy policies coming out of the Biden administration, I know they have plenty of dragons to deal with. Probably going to take some time to repair any damage between allies, etc. But do you think that is it more of a longer term issue for the markets, and Biden's not ending fracking, but capping some wells and putting people to work to cap wells during this time? Do you think he'll follow through on that?
Let me start with the point that for 2021, the year and the market balances for 2021 are already set in stone, regardless of what Biden does.
Okay.
The impact of Biden is going to appear 2022 and after, whatever policies they want to do. The problem we are having right now is how much money they are willing to spend and print to do these things. And if they do it, which states basically is going to get the money, and whether that's going to be viewed as subsidies to the oil industry, and the oil industry reputation is already being tarnished. So do we need more of that reputation by giving them subsidies and doing things that they should have done? So I am worried about any efforts to subsidize the oil industry in the United States because of these issues.
Okay. Well, Nas, what do you want to wrap it with going into, December and COVID?
Couple of points.
Okay.
This slide, basically, it just shows where the predictions were and all that stuff, and we know all of them basically went wrong. And for example, if you look at that sheiks versus shale, we know this is still kind of going, and we don't know what the result of it, and there is no proof either way. But about the end of oil and the peak oil demand, it's a complete nonsense to believe that the oil demand has already peaked. And I'm looking forward next year just to prove this point. The other thing is, let's remember this. That's Al Gore. He was expecting that the polar ice cap might disappear in summer 2014. So the idea here is a lot of people are resorting to fear. They are making predictions. They are giving dates. It has been proven wrong. And the final one is about this peak oil demand. I'm just posting this for people to realize that, okay, we are going to have a lot of electric vehicles in Europe and the United States and Japan and most of OECD countries. But to say that we are going to have it global is a complete nonsense. Nigeria's population is about 200 million. only 57% have access to electricity. Look at Pakistan. They have 212 million, only 72% have access to electricity. In Sudan, they have 42 million and only 60% have access to electricity. The priorities
therefore EVs not practical
in those countries.
Yeah.
Okay, we will have widespread use of EVs in most of OECD countries, but to think about it in a global sense, it's not going to happen.
Okay. All right. So
that's it.
That's it. Interesting. And as always, Anas, I really appreciate your time, and was a great time to have you with what's happening here. Why don't we wrap it with your best guess for the range of WTI in 2021?
This is very hard for me to say, and I would rather
give
not.
It a shot. Give it a shot.
I would rather not. I think the last time I told you we will not go below 37.
Yeah.
Something like this. That's for Brent. I believe we said it like this, and I think this is still the
floor. Okay.
Yes.
And upside potential?
There is upside potential, but not much because of all the issues and the spare capacity among OPEC and other factors.
Okay. All right, everyone. If you want, if you really want to get into the nuts and bolts and really the, talk and follow an oil expert, here's your guy, Anas Alhajji. And it's his name on Twitter, @Anas Alhajji. And you're going to get a perspective on the oil. One thing I really respect about Anas, he cuts through all the hype and gives you the story that's rational instead of the emotional story. So thank you very much, my trading warrior brother.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a great end of the year.
You too.
Do it again, inshallah, my brother.
Inshallah, inshallah.
All right.
Bye.
So that's a wrap for us, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Blake has a special interview. And remember, don't just count your barrels, count your blessings. And we'll see everyone tomorrow to wrap up the week. You're very welcome, everyone. Namaste. Shalom. I know them all. Adios.